I'd like to bring up Bhakti Chavda, and then we're going to do yoga too. So she is in her third year as an ambassador from Houston, Texas, and her speech is Flourishing Amidst Failure. Please welcome Bhakti.
This is very big up here on this side. So imagine a 20-year-old. She's young, she's vibrant, active in her own way, seems like she's got it all put together, right? We know who she is. She's probably a little green around the edges, especially if you know someone in their 20s right now. No offense to anybody in their 20s right now. And you think she's got it all put together. Imagine this same 20-year-old. She goes to bed every night, crying herself to sleep, wishing that she would die in her sleep. She spends her days contemplating ways to kill herself, unbeknownst to the world, and resumes the cycle every night. That was me 8 years ago. I would spend my days thinking of ways to kill myself with whatever I had around me. And at night, I would just really wish I wouldn't wake up the next morning. Let me tell you how I got there. So in case you haven't figured it out, I'm brown. There's really not that many of us in this scene, okay? At least Indians. My parents moved here in 1976 from India, and I'm a first-generation immigrant. And you know all the stories on the sitcoms and maybe like rumors or stereotypes you hear about like Asian Americans, Indian Americans with their kids having high expectations, really strict in the household, putting them in lots of activities. That's all true. For example, there were many mornings that my mother would talk to me about my score of a 99 on an exam and she would criticize me because I was missing that 1 point. But I'm not here to talk about, a bad child because I had an amazing childhood. But I'm here to tell you that develops an intense amount of high expectation for yourself, right? I mean, so much so where your identity is wrapped around these achievements that you make. And that was fine, that was easy for me. School came easy for me, high school was great. I never really had to study very much. TESS came, I had to study some, but I grasped subjects pretty quickly. I participated in 2 sports at high school, one individual, one team sport. I participated in all kinds of extracurricular activities. And it seemingly all worked out, and it came together. And it culminated into my getting into my dream school. So ever since the 8th grade, I knew I wanted to go to the Georgia Institute of Technology. And I got in. I got into the aerospace engineering program. I was going to be an astronaut. I had announced this to the world. This was my dream for a long time. My parents were obviously thrilled. They were so proud of this career path that I had created for myself, that I had carved out for myself. Let me pause for a second. So by this time, I had not yet learned this very valuable lesson. All of y'all, and by this time, we all probably know. When you have way too much stuff on your plate, and you keep going at that pace, and you keep going at that pace, and you don't slow down, you can and will get burned out. And so I went into my dream school burned out. I went into a top 5 engineering program burned out. You can imagine what my performance was like. I was miserable, but I wasn't ready to admit it to myself. I saw people around me that they knew how to study, they knew how to sit down and learn stuff from books, and I never really had to do that very hard before. I saw people around me know how to ask for help. They knew how to go to TAs or teachers and ask for help for things, and I never wanted to do that for myself, and I didn't know how to do that. I got sick so often just in my first semester. I had strep throat, which I've never had in my life, until then. I had the flu twice, and I got a UTI. And it sucks enough to have to go to an 8 a.m. class, but then having to pee every 10 minutes at that 8 a.m. class, it's really horrendous. And so, like I said, my performance was abysmal. And I failed. I have never failed at anything in my life. And I failed at the thing that I wrapped my identity around. I spent the next several years just coming up with ways to find purpose in life, to find an objective for the day-to-day. I had dead-end jobs. I had, hung out with friends in the evenings, probably more than I should have. Bad dates. But you know what? You know that elephant that's in the room? No matter how many times you dress it in different ways, no matter how many times you throw a sheet over it, no matter how many times you turn off the light and leave the room, it's still there. And so as I grew up, my problems grew with me. And so there I was in my mid-20s, desperate for death. I would spend my days contemplating suicide with whatever was around me. Thinking of a combination of pills we had at the house. Was I courageous enough to use a sharp object? And at the end of the day, when I couldn't do it, it just proved to me that I indeed was a failure. And then I'd go to sleep, wishing that I wouldn't wake up in the morning, so I wouldn't have to do that all over again. It's very exhausting hating yourself that much. It's very tiring, and it's painful. And eventually, I just got so tired of it that I sought help from a cognitive psychologist. And I owe my life to this person. If you've never worked with a cognitive psychologist before, let me tell you, this is the hardest work you will ever have to do. For example, one of the things that she made me do was a feelings inventory. And this is very important work to write your feelings down, but this wasn't just writing your feelings down. Whenever you had bad thoughts in the morning or in the evening. No. So for every negative thought that I had to write it down. I had to write how that made me feel. I had to write evidence for that feeling. Then I had to write evidence against that feeling. Then I had to rewrite the thought so that it would be more positive. And finally, I had to go through all of this inventory out loud with my therapist. I mean, eventually it takes way too long to do this. They take every 10, 20 minutes, every time you have a bad feeling. I mean, eventually I just started doing it in my head, which incidentally was the goal of this process. And a couple of years later, I finally got to the point where I didn't need to see her anymore. I learned that I deserved to live. I learned that I am deserving of love and compassion and being part of something bigger. I learned that I can enjoy things and it's okay. I learned that I can eat half of a large pizza by myself on a Friday evening with bad TV, and that's okay. I learned that I have a passion for movement. Sports, yoga, whatever, although yoga I some of y'all have probably seen already, but I learned that I can set goals. That I could set these goals, and if I hit these setbacks along the way, that didn't define me. And like I said, I learned that I deserve to live. So I hope that this story tells you that you too deserve to live. You too deserve whatever love and compassion and kindness and anything good that comes your way. You too deserve to own all of these things, all these beautiful products that showcase exactly who we are, right? But most especially, we all deserve to enjoy that half of a large pizza on a Friday night by ourselves. Thank you.